What's up everybody, welcome back to my channel. So for today we're gonna start a new series talk about the Flutter Provider. First we will review the stateful widget, talk about how to manage the state in a single widget, and also we will talk about how to manage the state among different widgets. Next we will talk about the inherited widget, because provider is a wrap around the inherited widget. So it's a good idea to know about these inherited widget before you dive into the provider. After you have those knowledge in mind, we're gonna start a journey to talk about the provider. When you look at the provider class diagram, there are lots of provider. For example, future provider, string provider, change notifier provider, proxy provider, and etc. But don't worry, we will cover all the necessary provider and the consumer in the coming lesson. So if you are new to my channel, feel free to reach out to my channel page and you will find the Dart programming language tutorial, Flutter widget tutorial, GetX tutorial, Flutter network tutorial, and build app from scratch tutorial. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel, thumb up my content, and open the notification. So without further ado, let's get started. First, let's look at the stateful widget. As we all know, everything is a widget in the Flutter. However, the state inside this stateful widget is not a widget. It actually is an object. The widget is immutable. However, the state inside the stateful widget is mutable. And we're going to call the method which is setState to changing the state inside the stateful widget. Let's look at the code example. Let's open the Visual Studio Code. Here is very basic stateful widget example, and we have this counter app and we have two buttons. One is increase the counter and another one is decrease the counter. Okay, so let's look at the code, and we have a stateful widget. As you see, this widget is immutable. It's marked as this constant keyword. However, the state inside this stateful widget is mutable, and we have a variable called number, and we have two methods. One is increase the number and another one is decrease the number. We're going to call this setState to change the state of our stateful example. And let's scroll down. In this build method, we have a number inside this text widget, and we have two elevated buttons that can trigger this increase function and a decrease function. When I press the increased button, it will trigger this increased method, and the method we will call the setState, which will update our state for this number. And also, since we are inside this stateful widget, we're going to rebuild our UI, so you can see the number is increasing. So let's try. We can increase the number, and for the same we can decrease the number. So that's basically to manage a state inside a single widget. Next, we're gonna talk about how to manage the state between parent widget and the child widget. So back to the code. I'm going to comment out this stateful example, and I'm comment out this stateful parent. For this second example, we have two widgets. So the parent is stateful widget and the child is stateless widget, and we pass the function and attribute into the child so that the parent to manage the state for its child. So let's check the code. We have a parent. So let's look at the parent. So basically almost the same. We have a stateful parent class that extends the stateful widget, and we declare a variable which is number, and also we have two methods. One is increase the number, another one is decrease the number, and we're going to pass this number and those two methods to the stateless child. So as you see in the constructor of our stateless child, we will receive the number, the increased method, and the decreased method. So let's look at the stateless child. So inside the stateless child, we declare the integer that will receive the number, and the function will receive the increased function and the decreased function. So as you see, we will create these tags which hold another number, and also two buttons. One is increase the number, another one is decrease. So when I press this increase button, it will trigger this increased function that passed from its parent. So we can manage the child state using this callback. So let's test it out. Let's press this increase button. As you see, the number is increased, and we can also press this decrease button, so the number will decrease. That's how we manage the state between a parent and a child. One is stateful widget, another one is stateless widget. You can match the state between different widgets using this approach if you are building very small project. However, when you're trying to build a large project, it's painful. You're going to pass all those callbacks down to the tree, right? So here, let's introduce another widget, which is Inherited Widget. The provider is wrapped around Inherited Widget to make them easy to use and more reusable. And as you see from this diagram, even we are in very down of this widget tree, we can still access this attribute which defined in the inherited widget. The inherited widget provides information down to the tree, and it defines context at the root of the base tree. And then the context can travel down to the subtree as deep as possible. As you see, so this widget at the bottom of this widget tree can access the attribute inside this inherited widget. Okay, so let's look at the code example. And open the Visual Studio Code, and here I'm going to comment out our second example and uncomment now our third example. And we are using this inherited example. Okay, so let's look at the code. So for this inherited example, first we define it as a stateful widget, right? So we have stateful widget, and we define this integer number we're going to show on the screen. And then we scroll down here. I define number inherited widget. So let's look at what's inside this number inherited widget. So for this number inherited widget, we extend the inherited widget, and we have two attributes. So one is the number, which I'm going to receive from this stateful widget, and then we have this child. The type is a widget type, so all the child can receive this number. And then I define this static of method, so I could pass those information to the context. And also I override this update should notify. If the number is not equal to the old number, I will trigger this update notify method. Okay, so let's scroll it up, and we have this number inherited widget, right? Inside we pass this nested widget. So let's look at what is nested widget. The nested widget is actually a stateless widget. So we're going to get those numbers using this of the method, which is the static method. So we're using number inherited widget dot of context. We can get this number back, and we can show on the screen. Yeah, that's very simple approach. So let's scroll it up. Under this number inherited widget, we have two buttons. One is increase the number, another one is decrease the number. So I hope you clear in this point. First, we declare this stable widget and we create this number variable. So we pass this number down to the tree and using this number inherited widget. So this nested widget can access to this number using that static off method, right? And then we can increase the number and also decrease number. So let's see if those number can change accordingly. Okay, so let's click this increase number. When I click the increase button, the number actually increase. So same for this decrease. Okay, back to the Mindmap, and I hope you have the basic knowledge about this inherited widget. And in the next video, we're going to talk about the provider. So we don't need to write those static method, and also this update should notify. We could use a provider to solve this problem. Okay, and that's all for today's lesson. And I hope you enjoy this tutorial. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, sum up the content, and open the notification so you won't miss out the latest Flutter tutorial. In the next lesson, we're gonna start of our journey about this provider package. Thanks for watching. I will see you in next one.